Welcome to the Gorgeous Guru podcast. It's your host, Day, the Gorgeous Guru. Hey, on today's episode, Conversations with the Dead, I'll be sharing my experiences with channeling messages from deceased celebrities. And just saying that is so weird to me, y'all. If someone would have told me years ago that this would be my life, I would have been flabbergasted, taken aback. Honey, I would have just been like, what? What the hell are you talking about? But here I am. Celebrity mediumship or hearing from dead celebrities is always shocking and surprising to me because I wonder why they choose me to speak to and speak through. I didn't have a relationship with these people. I didn't know them personally. They didn't even know of me. But when they cross over, I guess they're able to tap into and tune into who's connected, right? And who can speak to them and things. I don't know, but it's just very interesting that they would choose to come to me. My first experience took place in around 2015. And this was interesting because this celebrity was in between life and death. They hadn't yet crossed over. This person was in a coma. One of the ways that I receive messages from the dead or, just from my guides is through dreams. So one night I have this dream that I'm in a hospital and there's a being with me and it felt like a guide, right? I felt like this person or being, this energy was standing like behind me, behind my shoulder, right? And guiding me through this experience. And this guide was showing me that we were going to a room in this hospital. I remember we get to the room and I'm looking through the glass into the room and I see Bobbi Kristina in a hospital bed. But I also see her standing next to herself in the hospital bed and her boyfriend, who I think was also her stepbrother or something, or godbrother, was in the room with her. So the figure that's with me, that's standing beside me, kind of guiding me through this, tells me that I need to convince Bobbi Kristina to leave her body or to leave the hospital. Essentially, I was being guided to encourage her to cross over. I go talk to the Bobbi Kristina that's standing beside the bed, right? Not the one that's in the bed and in the coma, but the one standing beside the bed. And I'm like, hey, you gotta go. It's time. We have to leave. It's time for us to go. And she's very defiant. And she tells me she's not leaving her boyfriend. She cannot leave him. And I'm like getting goosebumps, like she's here in the room with me. But she was just like, no, I'm not leaving him. So I go back to the energy or the figure, and y'all, I never see this figure. I can never see this figure. This is not the only time I've been with that figure in a dream, and I never get to see who they are. I tell the figure, hey, she's not coming with me. And it's like now I have to kind of advocate on her behalf, like, look, I know you want her to cross over. She's not ready. She's not ready. She's not coming with me. She wants to stay for this guy. So I'm released from my duty, right? And I wake up, and the first thing I do, y'all, is go and research Bobbi Kristina, because I really honestly at that point didn't even remember what had happened to her. And when I do the research or I Google her, I see that she's in a coma. She had been in a coma before she died. She was in a coma for like 6 months. And I don't remember at what point during that time I received that message. But yeah, she was in a coma. And I remember just being floored. So this is before I really got into my spiritual practice, my spiritual work. And I definitely didn't know at the time that I had such strong mediumship abilities. And again, till this day, I wonder why I was chosen. Why would little old me, Daybria, aka Day, right, be chosen to try to get her to cross over? That's amazing to me. What an honor. I don't know how I got the honor, honey, but it was just amazing. And I hope at this point, she's at peace and she's transitioned well. And she's been able to let go of those things that were holding her back when she was here. Ashe to you. I hope you are well. Fast forward to today. As my abilities have gotten stronger, I've noticed there will be times periodically where the divine will share information with me about certain celebrities, dead and alive, right? And I remember getting a message about Diddy when all of the shit hit the fan for him, right? And the divine came through and was like, hey, he's the hip hop Epstein. And they told me some other stuff which I won't repeat. And to be honest with y'all, I was just like, okay, well, I don't care about these people. No offense. Like, these are just other humans, and why do I need to know this about them? But as time has gone on, I see that this is just a part of my practice. The divine is going to share information with me. I could take it or leave it, but the divine going to give it to me. One of the most powerful messages I got that I actually shared in a previous episode is a message I got from Miss Angie Stone one day, where she was just encouraging me to live for myself. Like, she said, live for you. She was like, all that people pleasing and trying to fit in, to these molds and into these different systems is a waste of your damn time, because, eventually you just die. And imagine spending your whole time here just trying to fit into boxes or trying to please people. She was just like, live for you. And it was such a profound and very powerful message. And I was just like, wow, again, honored that she would even think to share these things with me. Another instance is, this was not a celebrity, but a connection to a celebrity. I know some of you are familiar with Savannah Guthrie's mother. She was the host of the Today Show, and her mother went missing, right? And I was in meditation one day, and the energy of her mother pops into my awareness. And let me tell y'all how I know it's real. I'm not thinking about these people, right? She's not someone that was on my mind or anything like that. But all of a sudden, I feel her energy pop into my awareness. And she starts trying to tell me where she's at. She talks about being underground. She talks about being cold. And it's like she wants to tell me where she is, y'all, but she didn't know at the time. It was a little frustrating, I'm not going to lie, because she couldn't really communicate to me in the ways that I know she would like to. I didn't understand what she was saying all the time, and I had to kind of be like, okay, I closed out the connection, and I was just saying a prayer for her, but when I came out the meditation, I said, okay, this woman has crossed over, because there's no way, unless she's really good at telepathy, that she would come and speak to me, But again, how do these people know that I am the person, I am one of the people they can speak to and through? That just makes me feel like it's a web. We are part of a web. And when people pull back from their humanity or leave their humanity, it's like you're able to see clearly the web. It just shows me that we're all connected. Y'all, the funniest story I have is about the artist formerly known as Prince. Prince came to me shortly after he passed away. Again, I was shocked. No real connection to Prince, and I have to be honest, and I hate saying this because I know he's going to judge me. I wasn't really a big fan of Prince. He's going to get me for that, but I wasn't. That's real. So when he came through, he has this very light energy. If anybody knows tarot, Prince has like a Page of Cups energy. Flamboyant, charismatic, just a beautiful soul, and very playful, but sarcastic playful. I remember the first time he came through, but then he came through later on, and let me tell you how I can always get Prince to pop up. I didn't know that Prince had a serious rivalry with Michael Jackson. And I am a huge Michael Jackson fan from a little girl. That was my guy. So one day I was in my house and I'm listening to some Michael Jackson music. And I remember the song went off and I was just like, oh my God, like there's nobody topping Mike. He was the best, just really talking him up. And y'all, Prince came in and was just like, what? kind of like, oh, he's overrated. What are you talking about? And I was like, oh my God, excuse you. Excuse you, Prince. How dare you? How dare you talk about my man like that? But it was so funny because he was just like, girl, he is not all that. And from that moment on, every time I get excited about a Michael Jackson song or I'm like, hype or about to talk Mike up, I'll be like, oh God, Prince gonna come in and get me, honey. But he's a very playful energy. I really like his energy. And what's interesting about Prince is he reminds me of my people, my paternal lineage specifically. His look, the short, light skinned, very like cocky, charismatic energy. That's very much something that you find in my paternal lineage, my father's lineage. Shout out to the homie Prince. He gonna come through and get me every time I talk about Mike too much. So those are just a few of the stories I have about communing with deceased celebrities, celebrity adjacent, folks and things like that. I'm always interested in how they come through. And like I said, I'm very interested in why they choose to talk to me, since we didn't have a connection. And I wonder who's going to come through next. If you're enjoying the podcast, please consider becoming a monthly supporter of the show. You can sign up at thegorgeousgurupodcast.com. Every donation is such a help to me. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining me today. You could have spent this time doing anything, but you decided to spend it with me, and I'm grateful.